Hello, hockey fans, and welcome back as we continue our look at the great career of the Finnish Flash, Teemu Selanne, as we've now hit part 5. If you haven't seen parts 1 through 4, the links are in the description, so check them out. But to quickly recap, Selanne emerged as a prospect in his home country of Finland and was drafted in the first round by the Winnipeg Jets back in 1988. After immense success with Jukurit in Finland, he signed with the Jets finally in 1992-93 and took the league by storm, as well as the community of Winnipeg. 76 goals, 56 assists for 132 points. His goals set an NHL record for most by a rookie, tied for most by a European player with Alexander McGillney that same year. The first rookie to lead the league in goals and set a record for most points by a rookie in a season. And as of 2025, all those records still stand, and he also holds and will forever hold the franchise record of the original Winnipeg Jets. He became an instant icon at Winnipeg, endearing himself to the fans and the city. It was a place he fell in love with. However, his sophomore season started well enough, but the team was a complete mess, and then he would suffer a serious Achilles injury ending his year. He returned for the 1995 lockout-shortened season after a stint back with Jukurit, and was starting to get back in his groove and look solid. The Jets, however, are still seen directionless, simply relying on their stars such as him. For the 1995-96 season, he seemed fully back to himself. He was having an epic season, and what would prove to be his last in Winnipeg, for both him and the team itself. As the franchise was getting set to move house to Phoenix the following year, Selanne was traded to the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim not long after the All-Star break. While the trade initially devastated him, he wasted no time at all excelling on the coast. He and Ducks superstar winger Paul Kariya clicked instantly, and the Ducks, who were in their infancy, started instantly improving, as Selanne's split season resulted in him reaching 108 points. His first full season with the Ducks was a monster success. He again reached over 100 points and reached the 50-goal mark for the first time since his rookie year, and was second in goal scoring and point scoring. The Ducks reached the playoffs and won their first ever playoff series for the first time ever before being eliminated by Detroit. The 1997-98 season was a disaster for the Ducks, and injury-plagued Paul Kariya hindered the team. And much like Selanne's time in Winnipeg, it just seemed the team was relying on him and Kariya and maybe a couple others to do anything. They missed the playoffs, but Selanne led the league in goals. And in part 4, where we left off, the 1998-99 season is a very good season for the Ducks. They returned to the playoffs, and Selanne reached 100-plus points in scoring and led the league in goals again, with 47, winning the first ever Rocket Richard Trophy as the league's leading scorer. He and Kariya were as exciting as ever to watch, but they were swept in the first round against Detroit. Selanne, however, is beloved in Anaheim. I'd say exactly as much as he was in Winnipeg. Something about his presence and devotion to his team and his caring about the community that he lives in and the city who loves him. It makes him popular, as well as his dazzling skills on ice. Also, he played for his homeland in Finland many times. 3 World Championships, winning a bronze in 1999. 2 Olympic Games, winning a shocking bronze in 1998. He also played in the Canada Cup and World Cup of Hockey. And now we approach the 1999-2000 season. Will be Teemu Selanne's 8th, his 5th with the Ducks, 4th full season with them. However, he's only made the playoffs 3 times in the previous 7 and has won 1 playoff series. But it is indeed the circumstances of the team itself that has held him down in many ways overall when it comes to winning. He has shined through with his skill. What more can he really do? He's constantly on highlight reels. He has a winning attitude. He's talked about among hockey experts as one of the most naturally gifted players in the game. He's a sportsman, and it shows a lot of class. He's adapted to the modern dead puck era better than most. He joined the NHL at the tail end of the high-scoring era, as you could plainly see with his rookie year, and thrived, but still thrives in a game where offensive numbers aren't exactly that high anymore. He's been a finalist for the Lady Byng Trophy for excellence in sportsmanship now 4 seasons in a row going into this year. He's also been a team all-star 4 times, 3 straight years with the Ducks, 1 first team in 97 and 2 second-team all-star selections in 98 and 99. He's also played in the NHL All-Star Game every season he has been in the league. Remember, in the lockout season, there was no game. The Ducks were still seen as a middle-of-the-road team, however, going into the 1999-2000 season. Also, there were changes in the NHL. The Atlanta Thrashers had arrived as a new club, increasing the league size to 28. Also, overtime losses will now count as a point along with ties. Well, let's see if our hero can get this Ducks team going in a good direction. The Ducks were shut out in their first 2 games of the season against defending Cup champions Dallas and then Phoenix. Selanne, however, helped the Ducks overcome a stacked Stars club indeed with a 3-0 shutout win of their own, scoring a goal. He also had 3 assists in the following game in a 5-3 win over Domfus, Ricci, Nolan, Suter, and the Sharks, and named first star of the game. And then had an assist in a loss to the Devils. He went pointless in a win over the Lightning and then had an assist in the loss to Florida. He then scored 2 goals and a helper for 3 points. It was a +5 and he was second star in a monster 7-1 win over the Capitals in Washington. He notched a goal and a helper in a 5-5 tie with Tony Amani, Doug Gilmour, and crappy Chicago. And then it was a 6-game homestand to end October heading into November. First, it was an assist in a 3-2 loss to Bork and the Bruins, and then on October 27, 1999, against Yager and the Pens, he scored the overtime winner in a 2-1 win, once again bringing his clutch heroics to the forefront, named second star. He scored a goal and assist, 3 assists I should say, for 4 points in a 5-2 win over the Caps, and was named second star, as he and Korea each had 4-point nights. He was pointless in a -2 on Halloween against Phoenix, and then to start November, he had a goal and a helper against LeClaire, Lindros, Beezer, and the Flyers in a 3-3 tie, and did the same against Bill Guerin, Doug Waite, and the Oilers in second star of that game. In total on this run, 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points in 6 games, and a very good +4. Sonny, however, went into a slump. It began with a road trip in Canada. He did play well, however, in a 2-0 win over a very good Leafs squad. He went pointless in losses to the hopeless Habs and the surging Sens. And then in a game against the Sens, however, he did suffer a minor injury. He missed the next 3 games, which the Ducks actually still won 2 of 3. He returned but suffered back-to-back 2-1 losses to the Habs and Devils. Then on November 26, 1999, the Ducks visited the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Dallas Stars, who have kept their great team intact, but they're off to a bit of a sluggish start. They still bolster Modano, Neuendijk, and Hull leading the way up front, while Hatcher, Sador, and Zubov lead the blue line, and Eddie the Eagle still in net. The Stars did lead 2-0 after 1, but Tony Hirkus got the Ducks into the game past that midway point of the second. As time was winding down the period, the puck was loose in Selanne's direction. Big mistake, Stars. He goes in on Belfour, whose eagle eyes look like a deer in headlights as Selanne makes his move. He scores! A beautiful solo effort for those at TSN in Canada who likely fall asleep in the editing room watching games in this era looking for stuff. And it's tied 2-2, and it would stay that way after 2. But nearing the midway point of the third, RPM strikes. Korea. Taruchin to Selanne, his second goal of the game, and the Ducks lead it 3-2, 9:27 into the third. Time is starting to wind down, and the Ducks are protecting their lead. The Stars pull Belfour, but they gave up the puck to Selanne. Big mistake again. He launches it into the empty net and completes the hat trick. The 16th of his career. 44 seconds to play, and the Ducks lead 4-2. And indeed, they hang on to win by that same margin. A huge victory over the defending champion Stars, who Sonny sees to actually play well against quite often. And yes, indeed, he is named the first star of the game after that epic performance. And the Ducks ended November with another win, 4-3 over Nashville, our hero with an assist in that one. Selanne, however, did have a slow month in December with just 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points, and 14 games. It was a -3. Highlights did include 2 assists in a 2-2 tie with Marcus Naslund at Jovanovski and the rebuilding Canucks, named second star of that showdown on December 8th at home. Then he scored 2 goals in a 4-1 win over veteran Ray Ferraro and the expansion Atlanta Thrashers, named first star of that game. And he scored the lone goal, the game winner, in a 1-0 win over the Sharks on Boxing Day. It was named third star. However, they did end the month with 3 straight losses, and the Ducks at that point sat at 18-16, 4-1. Decent, but they'll have to get better. The year 2000 has arrived, and it appears Teemu Selanne has a Y2K problem. In the first 8 games of January, he scores just 3 points as a dreadful -6, and the Ducks go 2-5-1-0. But someone like Selanne can only be kept down for so long. He started to claw back, as he was much better the next 3 games following that. He scored a huge goal with 1:40 left to go in a game against powerful Colorado to send it to OT, preserving a tie. A goal and a helper in a tight loss to the Sharks, but then a goal and an upset loss to the Isles. He is playing better, but the team as a whole is just not. But wow, Selanne was determined as ever to get his team back in the swing of things. Back-to-back wins over the Pens and a struggling Bruins squad, both on the road. In Pittsburgh, a goal, 2 helpers, 3 points, and a +4 and a massive 7-1 win and named first star. Then two goals, 2 assists, and on all goals in a 4-2 win in Boston. Of course, he's named first star again, 7 points in 2 games. Then he made it 9 points in 3 games as he skated into play struggling Buffalo, the defending Eastern Conference champions. As the Ducks down 2-0 in the third period, came back to tie it and get the point in a 2-2 tie. Selanne assisted on both comeback goals and scored a power play marker in a 3-3 tie against Philly after that. And now we get ready for the All-Star break. And hey, surprise, surprise! Teemu Selanne is named to the NHL All-Star Game for the 7th straight time and represents Team World, while teammate Paul Kariya joins Team North America in what is his 4th All-Star Game. The game took place on February 6, 2000 in Toronto, and Team World actually won the game 9-4. And even though our hero was pointless, it was actually the first time in all the All-Star games he's played on that he's been on the winning end. Even in 1998 when he was named Game MVP, Team World still lost that one. Our hero returned to action and stayed hot. He had an assist in a 5-3 win over Luke Robitaille, Ziggy Palffy, Rob Blake, and a very good-looking Kings club. Then it was an assist in a 5-3 loss to Dallas, then 2 assists in a loss to McInnes, Pronger, Turgeon, Dimitra, and the Blues. Then it was an assist in a 4-3 win over Chicago, 2 assists in a 6-5 win over Jerome McGinley, former teammate Phil Housley, and the Flames. Then a goal and a tie with the Sharks 4-4. And that meant Selanne had gone on a 13-game point streak. My goodness, 8 goals, 14 assists, 22 points, and a good +2. Remarkable hot streak once again for number 8. And the Ducks went a good 5-4, 4-0 in this stretch. And he did this against 12 different teams however to boot. That's really impressive. The Ducks at this point set out a record of 25 wins, 25 losses, 9 ties, and an overtime loss for 60 points with 22 remaining. But that meant they set out a playoff spot at this point. They're in 9th place. They're just 4 points back of the Oilers, who hold 8th in the final seed. So they can still easily catch them, but also, you should mention that Calgary is only a point behind them in 10th, and the Blackhawks are 3 points behind in 11th. The Ducks really need to crank it up. His point streak did come to a halt in a 4-2 loss to the powerful Blues, but Selanne bounced right back with a goal, 2 assists for 3 points, a 4-4 tie with the Canucks, named first star of that game. He ended February with an assist in a win over Edmonton, and pointless in a win over the Sharks. But the Ducks' playoff hopes fade to begin March. Again, he hit a bit of a slump, 3 points in 7 games. The Ducks go 1-3-2-1 in that stretch, and he's a -5. But the Ducks then won 3 in a row, and our hero again picked it up. He scored 2 highlight reel-worthy goals against the Sharks in a 4-2, and one of them, an amazing solo effort, was named second star of that game. In on all 3 goals against the strong Red Wings with 3 assists. Second star of that game. And an assist in a win over the Kings. 6 points in 3 games, and 2 a game. However, it was back-to-back losses in Western Canada to follow. 2-1 against the Oilers and a horrendous 8-1 loss against the Canucks. Oddly enough, Selanne had the assist in the latter. Going into the morning of March 26th, the Ducks sat at 31, 12, and 2 for 76 points. Still in 9th place, 3 points back of 8th, held by the Coyotes. 2 up on the Canucks in 10th, and they happen to have a game that night. Oh boy. Yes, indeed, the team they're trying to catch, the Phoenix Coyotes, indeed Selanne's former team, as they were back in Winnipeg. But his former teammate Keith Tkachuk has had an injury-plagued season. He's not playing tonight. Yet Shane Doan has emerged as a very talented forward, and Jeremy Roenick leads the way. Also, former Ducks teammate Travis Green is now on board with this club. The defensemen feature former Jets teammate Teppo Numminen, former Ducks teammate JJ Daigneault as well, but their new goalie is Sean Burke, seasoned veteran. But teams know what's at stake, and our hero needs to turn it up to 11. It was bad early. The Coyotes jumped out to a 2-0 lead by the halfway point of the period. Time was winding down. The pond was barely making a ripple at that point. But with 2:34 left in the period, Olsen sends Ruchin in on goal with Selanne in his wing. He scores! Teemu Selanne gets the Ducks in the game with a beauty cutting the gap to 2-1. The pond wakes up, but their joy is short-lived. The Coyotes took a 3-1 lead 27 seconds later. And they carried that lead into the second period, but the Ducks were fighting to get back into it. But then Sully keeps the puck in the opposing zone to allowing Ruchin to set up Selanne again! And the Ducks are once again within a goal. It's Selanne's second goal of the game, his 30th of the year. But they can't get the equalizer as the second period ends with Phoenix still leading by a goal. But then just 1:17 into the third period, a power play, a number 8 slides the opposite wing to number 9, who can't find the opening, but back to the point to Olsen. He scores. The Ducks are tied at 3-3. The fans go wild as now our hero has his 3rd point of the night. And as time winds down, neither team is about to get one up on the other. The Ducks defense is playing pretty well, and Hebert makes stops when he needs to. Sean Burke is, however, playing an epic game on his other end as they bombard him. So it ticks down to 0, and we're headed to overtime. And with just 1:13 left, Selanne begins out of his own zone to Matt Cullen, who sets it back to Oleg Taverdowski for the OT winner. The Ducks win at 4-3. But the Coyotes do get the point as well due to an overtime loss. But now the Ducks are just 2 points out of 8th. Selanne with a 4-point night. And yes, he is named first star of the game to a huge ovation for his amazing night, being on all 4 goals, helping his boys stay alive. 5 games remain. Can they do it? On April 1st, they would lose to the Kings 2-1. Selanne had the lone goal, and now they sit 3 points out, as it's now the Sharks they have to worry about, as the Coyotes have started to move up the standings a little bit. Also, the Canucks are now tied with them for 78 points, but the Ducks have more wins, so they still stay in 9th. 2 days later, Selanne had an assist as the Ducks beat the Predators 3-1, but the Sharks won that day too. Remaining 3 points up on the Ducks. 3 games now remain for both clubs. Then he had 2 assists in a 5-2 loss to Chicago. Yikes. The Sharks won that day too, pretty much assuring their playoff spot. However, the Ducks can still catch the Oilers, who lost that day and sit at 84 points. And the Ducks have more wins. It's not impossible, but the Ducks need the Oilers to lose their last 2, and they have to win their last 2. And yes, our hero leads his Ducks with 2 assists in a 5-1 win over the Preds. But the Oilers won that day too. The Ducks are officially eliminated. Selanne ended the season, however, for his team strong with 2 goals and a helper in an overtime loss to LA, named second star of that game. The Ducks, however, would finish with an overall record of 34, 33, 12, and 3 for 83 points, almost on par with last year, more or less. But the difference is they made the playoffs last year. This is definitely a setback season. Well, Teemu Selanne, 1999-2000 season, had 33 goals, 52 assists for 85 points in 79 games. A good season, but a fair bit down in terms of production overall. It's the first year he's failed to reach 40 goals since the 1993-94 season, as again, we're not counting the lockout season. And once again, it's he and Korea making things happen. My goodness, Korea assisted on 13 out of the 32 goals Selanne scored. Selanne in turn set up Korea 22 times, just above half of the 42 that Paul scored that year came from our boy Teemu. And the 2 teed up for 14 assists, producing 49 different goals together. What these 2 can do is nothing short of incredible, but it's also showing how much more the Ducks really need to build better around them. Also, Selanne again clicked with Ruchin, teaming up with 33 goals this year. Now, 2 of his defensemen were also key this year. Oleg Tverdovsky, who, oddly enough, the Ducks traded to get Selanne back in 1996, was a big help as he returned to the Ducks, and they teamed up for 29 different goals. And of course, he worked well with Olsson, but the Ducks' power play slipped from 1st to 14th. Despite the slip in production, Selanne's 85 points was actually still good enough for 5th best in the league. So he is playing well still in this low-scoring era, and was 1 point behind Paul Kariya, who finished 4th with 86 points. This is Selanne's 5th straight season in the top 10 and 6th of his career. However, this broke his streak of 4 straight appearances among the top 10 in goal scoring. Crazy, as he just won the Richard Trophy last year. But he did finish in the top 10 among assist leaders for the 4th time in his career. His 52 assists were 7th best in the league. The only other category Selanne made the top 10 in this year was back in the swing of even strength goals. It was 25 were tied for 9th with Miro Jatan of Buffalo and Jeremy Roenick of Phoenix. Korea finished 3rd with 28. And now, how about award season? Oh man, for the 5th straight year, he is a finalist for the Lady Byng Trophy for excellence and sportsmanship. Once again, he's 3rd place, as Nicholas Lidstrom finishes 2nd again this year. Pavel Demitra of the St. Louis Blues won it. This did break his streak, however, of 4 straight years with Hart Trophy voting, as he didn't garner a single one this year. It also broke his streak of 3 straight Team All-Star selections. Now, it wasn't the most epic year Selanne had, but it certainly was far from bad. Still among the top 10 in scoring and assists, and also big on even strength goals again this year, and he finished a +6 and was a finalist again for the Lady Byng Trophy. Played his 7th straight All-Star game to boot. Selanne's only real knock this year, as at times he did hit some bad slumps, but it's clear that's not what's hindering the Ducks overall. The problem goes much deeper, and it certainly has very little, if anything at all, to do with him or Korea. But either way, the Ducks' future is still uncertain after this season, and missing the playoffs after a rebound season last year, and now our hero has missed the playoffs 5 times in 8 seasons, and for a player of his caliber, that's just not right. As we ready for the 2000-2001 season, Teemu Selanne is now 30 years old. And that is when the world of pro sports and the media start questioning your age. But really hasn't shown any significant sign of slowing down, despite some injury issues. He has encountered a few over the years. And while he and Korea do put on a good show, where is the Ducks' progression as a team necessarily? Craig Hartsburg has more or less stalled. Pierre Gauthier can't seem to get things figured out either. And dating back to their first days, their first ever first round draft pick was Paul Kariya. They did pick Oleg Tverdovsky in 1994, and he was a good pick, but they traded him to get Selanne. But in 1995, they took winger Chad Kilger over Shane Doan and Jerome McGinley. 1996, to be fair, wasn't an overly strong draft class, and they did take Ruslan Saleh, who was a solid blue liner for them. 1997 was slim pickings by the time their pick came around, sadly. 1998, while not overly strong, they took defenseman Vitaly Vishnevsky, and he did have a decent career, but he kind of could have used another center at that time. Makes me think Alex Tanguay, Simon Gagne, or Scott Gomez would have been great choices. They traded their first round pick in 1999, but at least got Tverdovsky back with it. This past summer, they took Alexei Smirnov, who would play all of 52 games for the Ducks. They truly lack depth. They haven't made any great deals. Gauthier needs to really get the boat moving, as the Ducks have lost Olesen again. They couldn't come to terms on a new deal, now he's off to Switzerland. Steve Ruchin is now injured and is going to miss most of the year. The NHL added 2 more franchises this season, the Minnesota Wild and Columbus Blue Jackets, bringing the lead to 30 clubs. Selanne still has some time on his deal, but can the Ducks progress in that time? Well, let's find out. Selanne and the Ducks got off to a decent start in October. After going pointless in a win over expansion Minnesota and a loss to the Blues, he scored a goal each in losses to Boston and defending Cup champions New Jersey. He had an assist in a 4-3 win over the Rangers. Then against the Islanders, tied 3-3 with some time winding down, he scored the power play game winner with literally just 2 seconds left. He also had an assist that day and had 2 points and was named third star. After an assist in a 2-2 tie with Buffalo, he had a goal and a helper against the Flyers, who were off to an awful start themselves. His goal, another game winner with 2:38 to play, named second star of that game. Then it was back-to-back losses to LA. Saw him get an assist in the latter, but after that, he had a goal and a win over Edmonton. Then he had a goal and assist and a win over Calgary, and ended the month with a goal and a loss to Edmonton. He had 7 goals, 6 assists for 13 points. It was a -2 in 13 games, and the Ducks were 6-4, 1-2, and not looking too bad. Selanne played decent in November, but the Ducks did not. They completely fell apart. He had 4 goals, 7 assists for 11 points. It was an even 0 in 14 games. He went pointless in a tie with Phoenix and had 2 assists in a 3-3 tie with Cliff Ronning and the growing Preds team. Was named third star. After a goal and a loss to crappy Chicago, he then went into a 4-game slump, and the Ducks' winless streak hit 8. Selanne, however, held his team break it with a goal and a helper and a 6-2 win over the Coyotes. Then the very next game, he had a goal and an assist, and been on both goals in a 2-1 win over Beezer in a sad-looking Islander squad, and was named first star. Then he followed that with a goal and a loss to New Jersey, pointless in a tie with Calgary, and had an assist each in 3 straight losses to end the month. The Ducks are a mess. December 2000 was no doubt the roughest and maybe worst month of Selanne's career, and it was getting worse for the Ducks overall. Groin issues caused him to miss 4 games, and he also had some issues with his knees. He played in just 10 and only had 3 assists all month. 2 of them were actually in the first game of the month against LA. And again, the rumors of these injuries and his health were coming to the surface, many feeling he has lost a step, and speculation is running rampant that the downswing of his career is about to commence. Also, Craig Hartsburg was fired earlier in the month as coach, replaced by Guy Charon, who was an assistant coach. As the new year of 2001 commenced, however, our hero was getting back to his old self. Down 2-0 against the Panthers, he scored a goal that began the comeback and an eventual overtime win. Then it was 2 goals and a helper for 3 points in a 4-4 tie with Calgary and named the game's first star. He then scored a goal in a 4-2 upset over the powerful Blues. Selanne played badly, however, in back-to-back shutout losses following. He was back in the swing of things again. He met with Mario Lemieux for the first time in 4 years as the Ducks went up against the Penguins. Selanne played very well with 2 assists, but they lost 3-2. He was ever named third star of the game. He'd have a goal and assist in a win over the Atlanta Thrashers and a goal in a loss to Phoenix. He's not both goals in a 4-2 loss to Sakic, Forsberg, Bork, Waugh, and a dominant Colorado Avalanche team. The Ducks are just not improving whatsoever. Selanne did have 2 assists against the Wings, but by the end of the month, the Ducks had lost 7 in a row and 10 of their last 11. To start February, the Ducks were terrible, 15-29-6-4, but they stepped into Phoenix to face the Coyotes. They were having a pretty good year at this point. Kachuk, Roenick, and Doan were all having tremendous seasons, as was defenseman Teppo Newman and then goalie Sean Burke. The game was tied 1-1 after 2 periods, and it was anyone's hockey game as the third period got underway. But the Ducks were putting on the pressure out of the gate. As 1:19 into the third period, Marshall sends Selanne on goal, and he scores! And the Ducks have the lead 2-1. It's a biggie. The Coyotes, however, tied it just 2:35 later, but at the midway point of the frame, Mike Crowley sends Selanne on goal again! And he scores his second of the game, and the Ducks lead at 3-2. And backup goalie Jean-Sebastien Giguère was playing a beauty. And then, with time winding down, Burke was pulled, and then Trepanier clears the puck out to number 9, who sees number 8. Hat trick for our hero, his first of the year, his 20th goal this season as well. And the Ducks led 4-2 with just 26 seconds left. And indeed, they hang on to win it 4-2. And he is named first star of the game. Selanne is still one to put on a great performance. But in Anaheim, the joy seems to be short-lived these days. The Ducks went winless in their next 5. Selanne had a point each in the first 4 of those games. Also, the NHL All-Star game came and went. First time in Selanne's career that he wasn't selected, ending a streak of 7 appearances in a row. Then on February 19, 2001, the Ducks were hosting a rebuilding Calgary Flames. Despite being stuck in Hoggy purgatory themselves for quite some time, the Flames at least had an emerging superstar in Jerome McGinley, as well as the very talented Valerie Bure, and defenseman Phil Housley, who is a big deal in Selanne's rookie year in Winnipeg. And it's game time at the pond, and both teams have good chances early on, but it's not until the Ducks go on a power play as Selanne gets it back to Crowley, who sees Korea near the net. He scores, and the Ducks draw first blood 8:25 into the game, and it's looking good. The Flames, however, tied it just under 3 minutes later. But then as the period begins to wind down, Herkus gets the puck out to Selanne, going in on goal with Korea. He scores, and the Ducks retake the lead, and Selanne has 2 helpers in this game. The Ducks are looking superb so far in this one, I have to say, as they take that 2-1 lead in intermission. Second period saw the Ducks clinging on to that lead until just past the midway point. Wisniewski clears the puck out to Korea, who goes in on goal with, oh, who's that? Selanne? Yes, his first goal of the game, 3rd point, and the Ducks lead 3-1. The Flames would get one back on a power play, but then on a power play of their own. It's Herkus back to Tverdovsky to number 8. Teemu Selanne, his 2nd goal and 4th point of the night, and the Ducks lead 4-2. And with under a minute to go in the second period, Crowley gets the puck to number 8, who sets up number 9. Korea gets a hat trick on this one, and Teemu Selanne has his 5th point. The Ducks lead 5-2. They take that into second intermission. And of course, they go on to win 6-2, a huge game for the Mighty Ducks, a huge performance from our hero and his line mate. And Selanne would be named 2nd star of the game behind Korea's great performance. Once again, the Ducks are shining, and Selanne had assist on a lone goal, however, after that, in another upset win over the Blues, this time 1-0, but they lose the next 2. San Jose next match at Columbus. He has a goal in the former and an assist in the latter. Selanne would miss the next 2 games due to injury issues, which was becoming concerning apparently for general manager Pierre Gauthier. Also, they were trying to work on a new long-term deal for Selanne, but the terms just couldn't be met. The Ducks were not exactly in financial peril. I mean, they were drawing an average of 13,000 to 14,000 fans at the Arrowhead Pond, but that wasn't a sellout. It could hold 17,000. It wasn't exactly a weak market, as I said, but it wasn't exactly the strongest either, kind of near middle of the road. The Ducks' finances can only hold so much water at this point. And the thought they could, well, lose Selanne for nothing eventually entered their mind. His injury issues, again, are now raising eyebrows like never before in his career. The Ducks' lack of sellouts is now due to the team's inability, however, to progress. Selanne and Korea were their main source of revenue and income. But if the team keeps losing, it's only going to get worse, and they can only steer this ship so far for so long. Trade rumors, they've started. Much like in Winnipeg, Selanne eventually called California his home, and his family had grown too. He wanted to keep himself and them there. But this time, he knew a trade was a heavy possibility, unlike the back and forth, here and there aspects of Winnipeg's internal issues, to which, to be fair, were much worse than the Ducks were at this point. and our hero was at least aware of the situation. He did return to action, however, amidst the rumors. On March 4, 2001, he suited up for a game against the Los Angeles Kings at home. Ducks fans were practically praying it seemed that the trade deadline, which was just under 10 days away, would come and go, and one of their heroes would at least still be there. Selanne, however, was ready to deal with the Kings. Both teams were playing very competitive hockey in the first period, and the Ducks struck first on a Mark Schweenauer goal, 13-13 into the game. Then, 3:46 later, Wisniewski gets the puck to Kariya, who sets up Selanne. He scores his 26th of the year, his 225th as a Duck, and they lead it 2-0 after one period. Then, 3:55 into the second power play, Selanne sees Crowley, who sets up Kariya. 3:55 into the second period. Selanne has a second point of the game, and the Ducks lead it 3-0 as they carry that lead all the way into second intermission. In the third period, the game was winding down, and then one more bit of magic, one more time at the pond. 3:03 left. Tverdovsky begins to play, but it lands on the stick of number 8, Teemu Selanne, who sets it up perfectly for number 9, Paul Kariya. It gives the Ducks a 4-0 lead. Selanne, his third point of the night, his 482nd as a Duck. They go on to win the game, 4-0, and indeed, in his 394th game as a member of the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, he is named first star. He receives a thunderous and emotional ovation from Ducks fans at the pond, as they sense the end is very close, despite them not wanting to believe it. But it's nice they got a show from Selanne and Kariya in that arena together one more time. But then, barely 24 hours later, March 5th, 2001 had arrived, and that would be the day that the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim traded Teemu Selanne to the San Jose Sharks, in exchange for a solid two-way forward, Jeff Friesen, who's in his 7th season, backup goaltender Steve Shields, second-round draft pick in 2003, which would later be sent to Dallas. As if the fans weren't angry enough at Gauthier for not being able to keep Selanne on the team, they were much angrier about this trade. Friesen is a good hand, but wasn't seen as a very good move, however. Gauthier's mistake, however, would become future GM Brian Murray's big score. More on that in a future video. This trade, however, left fans in Anaheim pretty upset. In the 61 games this season with the Ducks, Teemu Selanne scored 26 goals, 33 assists for 59 points, missing 6 games overall. And indeed, one last time in Anaheim, Paul Kariya and he did their thing. Kariya set up Selanne for just under half of his goals with 11. And in turn, Selanne set up Kariya for 10, close to half of what Kariya had at that point on the other end. In total, the two teamed up for 27 goals overall. However, this year for assist collaborations, it was Oleg Tverdovsky who Selanne did click really well with. The two teamed up for 7 assists, and themselves overall teamed up to produce 18 different goals. Selanne also had his moments this year with Matt Cullen, Marty McInnes, and seasoned veteran Tony Herkus. But you see, Steve Ruchin's absence was felt this year. Despite how rough it was for Selanne to leave, he hoped that better chances were ahead. He left behind quite a legacy and reputation in Anaheim that fans won't forget anytime soon at this point. But as he makes his journey nearly 366 miles away in a 6-hour drive, he hopes what awaits him in San Jose will be just half as good as it was in Anaheim. But what an incredible ride it was. 6 seasons, 4 whole seasons, parts of 2. He definitely made a tidal wave of impact in that pond. League leader in goals 2 times in 1997, 98, 98, 99, and first ever recipient of the Richard Trophy in the latter as leading goal scorer. Top 10 in points 5 seasons in a row from the moment he joined the Ducks from 96 all the way to 2000, and even finished second twice. First team All-Star in 97. Second team All-Star 2 years in a row in 98, 99, giving him 3 in a row overall in team All-Star selections. He led the league in even strength goals once, was top 10 3 other times, and once led the league in power play goals. He also led the league in offensive point shares once and was top 10 3 other times. Led the league in hat tricks once, and overall with the Ducks had 9. He was also top 10 in shooting percentage twice, top 10 in total goals on ice for, and power play goals on ice for twice each. He was a finalist for the Lady Byng Trophy 5 straight seasons from 1996 to 2000. He was a finalist for the Hart Trophy once in 1998 and got votes 3 other times. He played in 4 straight NHL All-Star games and was game MVP with his remarkable performance in 1998. And of course, it seems with Teemu in this portion of his career, it's always historic firsts. He helped the Ducks to their first ever winning season, playoff appearance, and playoff series win, all in the 96-97 season. And overall had 14 points in the 15 playoff games he played. He set a franchise record for points in 1996-97 with 109 goals, 52 in 97-98, and as of 2025, neither have been broken. And of course, we can't skip his international presence, can we? He played in 2 World Championship tournaments, winning a bronze in 1999, and was also named Tournament MVP and All-Star that year. And speaking of bronze, we can't forget his unforgettable bronze medal achievement at the 1998 Winter Olympics in Nagano, helping Finland pull off that huge upset over Sweden with his amazing performance in the knockout round. He also led the tournament in scoring, and on top of that, played in the 1996 World Cup of Hockey. Count it up! 225 goals, 257 assists, 482 points in 364 games for the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. And he was also a really good plus 59 in that time. Selanne is again only 30 years old. But again, this is where the skeptics truly start. But can he give all he's got to the Sharks and more? We're about to find out. Well, as Teemu Selanne is ready to embark on his new journey to San Jose, it's time for a backstory. The San Jose Sharks entered the NHL in the 1991-92 season. They were actually the first new expansion team to enter the league since 1979 with the big WHA merger. The LA Kings were thriving business-wise since Wayne Gretzky's arrival, so it just seemed to make perfect sense for more teams to come to California. The team was run by general manager, someone who Selanne knows, Jack Ferrara, and coached by George Kingston. The Sharks in their first season, they're pretty damn bad, but no worse than anyone really thought they'd be. In year 2, they outright sucked a giant meat rocket, ready to roll with the Ottawa Senators. 11 wins, 71 losses, 2 ties, and Ferrara had left. Jack Rillo and Dean Lombardi inherited this team, and after that second season, Kingston was let go. But then something shocking happened in the 93-94 season. A group known as the Ov Line formed. They acquired 2 Soviet icons, being Sergei Makarov and Igor Larionov, and Swedish import Johan Garpenlov joining them. Top prospect on defense Sandy Zoslinch was coming into his own, and there was a lot of hard work from forwards such as Pat Falloon, Todd Ellick, Gaetan Duchesne, Rob Gaudreau, and Ray Whitney. They helped the Sharks work together game in and game out, pulling off several shocking wins. Other defensemen such as Jeff Norton and Tom Peterson clicked with Ozo, and of course you had the goaltending of Latvian sensation Artur Serbe. Head coach Kevin Constantine developed a strong system, and it worked so much so that the Sharks finished just 2 games below 500 and made the playoffs with the 8th and final seed, far exceeding anyone's expectations. They even upset high-powered Detroit in 7 games. The following year, it was about much the same in what was a lockout-shortened season, but I see they didn't really progress beyond the previous season, yet they still slipped into the playoffs and pulled off another 7-game upset, this time against the Flames in the opening round. But by the 1995-96 season, the Ov Line had all left. Constantine's system was exposed, and, well, how important the Ov Line was really showed as the Sharks just drowned in the 95-96 season, and they weren't much better the following year, despite the fact that they did have a bona fide superstar in Owen Nolan up front. They didn't really have much else. With the arrival of Daryl Sutter as the new head coach in 1997-98, and Dean Lombardi at the very least trying his hardest to shake things up with this club, as they acquired veteran goalie Mike Vernon, the Sharks improved greatly in the 97-98 season, made the playoffs, did the same again in 98-99, both with losing records. You could actually spark comparison to the Ducks' problems in around this era, but the difference is Lombardi just hated wasting time. Despite some of his questionable decisions, he was doing his damnedest to make the Sharks a contender. They had their first winning season in franchise history in the 1999-2000 season, and at this point were bolstering a very strong lineup. Forwards such as two-way specialist Mike Ricci had joined the club. They had a veteran forward and all-star in Vincent Donfus acquired from the Montreal Canadiens, and top prospect Patrick Marleau was evolving. And also one of the reasons for the Sharks growing was the man they actually traded for Selanne, Jeff Friesen. On the defense, they had a very strong core of Gary Suter, Marcus Ragnarsson, and Brad Stewart. They pulled off another first-round upset, this time against the President's Trophy winners, the Blues. But now here we are, at the President of the 2001 season. No one has had an injury-plagued year, so is Donfus. But Marleau is working his damnedest and hardest to keep this team going, as his new star goalie Evgeny Nabokov. Lombardi felt Selanne could instill a lot into this club, who is doing, well, quite well for themselves, but they've hit a bit of a slump lately. Selanne wouldn't debut quite yet, as he still needs to heal up from some injuries. It was announced, however, he'll finally suit up for the Sharks for the first time on March 17, 2001. Now, as I mentioned, the Sharks had hit a slump, as they'd only won one of their last 9. They sat with a record of 35, 23, 11, and 1 going into this game for 82 points, but they slipped from the division lead, which would give them a top 3 seed, to back behind the Stars, and they still can catch them, and they're still in a good spot, but it's not as reassuring as they sit in 6th. And oddly enough, the only team that's been officially eliminated at this point in the Western Conference is the Ducks. So indeed, on March 17, 2001, Teemu Selanne plays his 626th career game, and first as a member of the San Jose Sharks. And oddly enough, they're taking on the team that Selanne played his last game as a Duck against, the Los Angeles Kings. They're just barely out of a playoff spot right now, and they really need this win. It is indeed a road game at the Staples Center. It's mainly defense as well as goaltending for this one, as it goes all the way to overtime without anyone scoring. Sharks would lose, however, 1-0. Selanne had over 18.5 minutes of ice time and just one shot on goal. However, our hero would make his home debut at the Shark Tank on March 18th, 2001, hosting the high-powered Detroit Red Wings, who are still one of the best teams in the league. And again, they're still led by team captain Steve Yzerman. Selanne got a great ovation for the fans of the Shark Tank welcoming him to his new home. But they were down 3-0 in the second period. However, Patrick Marleau fed the puck to Selanne, who set up Owen Nolan. Selanne's 789th career point, first as a Shark, and they'd lose 6-4. Our hero was having a lot of trouble adjusting in San Jose at first. He went pointless in the next 3 games, totaling just 1 assist in his first 5 games as a member of the Sharks. He was especially really bad when a -3 in a 4-1 loss to the Avalanche, and the media was starting to get on him for this. But the Sharks still had light at the end of the tunnel, because our hero finally broke out with 2 assists of the 3-2 win over the Kings in overtime, assisting on Korolek's late-time goal and Ricci's overtime winner. And now it looks like he's beginning to adjust this Sharks lineup. The next game was going to be an emotional one. Yes, indeed. On March 29, 2001, Selanne and the Sharks host the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. The games are one of the largest crowds of the season at the San Jose Arena. The Ducks season has already finished as far as playoff go, but they managed to go 5-3-1 in 9 games since the trade. But it's game time at the Shark Tank, and excitement is in the air for this one, and it took just under 3 minutes in for Paul Kariya to score a power play goal, assisted by former Shark Jeff Friesen, no less. The Ducks to silence the Sharks faithful and taking a 1-0 lead. As a matter of fact, after the Sharks tied it, Kariya scored again on a power play, giving the Ducks a 2-1 lead. Ducks then led 3-1 after 1. But the Sharks bit back in the second and led 4-3, but our hero has been silent. Time is winding down in the period. The Sharks were on a power play, and Rafty gets over to Sundstrom. He sees open Teemu Selanne at long last in his 7th game with the club. He scores his first goal as a Shark, 373rd of his career, and the Sharks now lead 5-3 with 17 seconds left in the period, and the San Jose Arena roars in approval, and that's the score after 2 periods. But less than 2 minutes into the third, Kariya completes his power play hat trick and keeps the Ducks in it, trailing by a goal 5-4. But then, nearing the 8-minute mark, Marco Sturm gets the puck out to Brian Marchment, who sets up Selanne. He scores his second of the game. The crowd goes wild, and the Sharks lead 6-4. Time is winding down, but the Ducks are not giving up, and Jaguar is pulled for the extra attacker. Then Sturm comes out, clears the puck to Selanne, who has lots of room. He scores in the empty net. Hat trick for Teemu his first as a Shark, second of the season, 18th of his career, 19 if you include his one in the playoffs. What an epic game as the Shark tank is overflowing with joy for their new hero. Selanne has truly arrived, stamping his arrival in San Jose. The Sharks took a 7-4 lead with that goal with 1:05 to go. And that's how it stays. And indeed, to a huge ovation, Selanne is named first star. Paul Kariya was actually named second star, and the two now former teammates, but still good friends, pay respect to each other after the game. The Sharks would lose to the Coyotes, however, to end the month 3-1, Selanne pointless. With the next win back-to-back games, and Selanne is a beast. 2 goals in a 4-2 win over expansion Minnesota. 2 more goals in a 3-0 shutout win over the Coyotes, both games at home. Selanne was named first star of the former and second star in the latter. Then he had 2 helpers in a loss to 2-time defending Western Conference champions, the Dallas Stars at home. They're still every bit as powerful this year. There was only 1 game remaining. And guess where it's taking place? Yep, Teemu Selanne for the final game of the regular season is making a trip back to the place he once called home. He called it home from February 7, 1996 all the way to March 5, 2001. I'm talking, of course, about the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim. The game takes place April 8, 2001. He skated on the ice for pregame warm-ups, and the crowd cheered up roariously. They still loved number 8. It was the largest crowd to attend a game all season at the Pond. And just 35 seconds into the game, Selanne began a play. It got the puck back to Hannon, who sets up Stefan Matto. Selanne had an assist. While the fans weren't happy with the goal, obviously, when the PA announcer called out, assisted by Scott Hannon and Teemu Selanne, the crowd did indeed let out quite a cheer. Selanne later said it ranked one of the biggest emotional nights he ever experienced. The Sharks went on to win 4-1. Selanne was actually voted third star of the game and given a tremendous ovation from the fans that spent all that time for 6 seasons cheering him. The San Jose Sharks finished the season 40, 27, 12-3 for 95 points. Their best season in franchise history at that point. And it was good enough for 5th place in the West. So our hero gets a big chance at the postseason, and it is now a playoff time. And oh, look at this. Awaiting the Sharks in the opening round is the very team they upset the year before, the St. Louis Blues. They finished 4th in the West with a record of 43, 22, 12-5 for 103 points, 8 points better than the Sharks. Coached by Joel Quenneville, this Blues team seems destined for greatness, but has just had trouble achieving it, as last year proved. But he got them through this year with many injury issues to several key players. The Blues had scored the 8th most goals in the league. Well, that's pretty impressive. But even more impressive is that they gave up the 5th least. Power play ranked 9th, penalty kill 7th. They seem to check all the boxes. They have never won a Stanley Cup in their history. Haven't played in one since 1970. But this is their 22nd consecutive playoff appearance, which at the time was the longest streak in the NHL. Each team has won 2 games against the other this season, and considering last year's playoff upset, it's anyone's series. But now Selanne is here. Is he going to be a bigger difference maker? Well, let's see who makes up this talented Blues squad. Veteran All-Star Pierre Turgeon led the way this year in his 14th NHL season. He is still among the best. He led the Blues in scoring with 30 goals, 52 assists for 82 points in 79 games. It's the 9th time in his career he reached the 30-goal mark. He's also a plus 14 and still a superb playmaker. He also got 24 votes for the Lady Byng Trophy, an award he actually won 8 years prior. And in his 12th NHL season, at 33 years old, Scott Young, who was Selanne's teammate in Anaheim for a season, had the best season of his career, 40 goals. Before that, he only ever reached 30 once, and that was with Quebec back in 93. His goal total was tied for 10th best in the league. He added 34 assists, had 74 points, was a plus 15. He also got a vote for the Byng. Plus, he has 102 games of playoff experience and 2 Stanley Cup rings. Also in this forward core, despite an injury-plagued season, star Pavel Demitra still scored 20 goals and is healthy for the postseason. There are many hard-working character players that were key to the success of this Blues club. Johan Hecht, Corey Stillman, Scott Mellenby, and former teammate of Selanne's in Winnipeg, Dallas Drake. Oh, and speaking of former teammates, the Blues had acquired someone late in the season that Selanne is very familiar with. That'd be Keith Tkachuk, his former Winnipeg line mate. He was still doing really well this year, top 10 in power play goals. But now we move to this blue line. And oh yes, the one and only Chris Pronger. Still fearless, still an ambitious leader, and sometimes downright nasty when he has to be. He's still showing that trademark aggression and that winning attitude, helping his team win many games, but he did miss a lot of games this year, 31 to be exact. However, he was still extremely productive. 8 goals, 39 assists for 47 points in 51 games. He was also a plus 21 and still came in 10th for Norris Trophy voting. And of course, joining him, the one and only Al McInnes. Now in his 18th full NHL season, he's still among the league's elite in blue liners. His cerebral smarts, defensive savvy, and that shot, I tell ya. He too missed many games, 23. But again, when healthy, he was superb. 12 goals, 42 assists, 54 points in 59 games. An amazing plus 23, and was 8th in defensive point shares. He also came in 7th for Norris Trophy voting, and oddly enough, he and Pronger were respectively the back-to-back last 2 winners of the Norris going into this season. Also joining them on this core, talents such as Alex Kavanagh, Alexei Gusarov, Sean Hill, and Bryce Salvador. In net, they had Czech import Roman Turek, who also had a few injury issues this season, but not too many as the others, but finished 24, 18, and 10. He had an excellent 2.27 goals against average, which was 10th best in the league. And he had a pretty good .901 save percentage, and his 6 shutouts were tied for 7th. Well, here we go. Game 1 in St. Louis, Sonny is playing okay, but it's not enough. The Blues take it 3-1. Game 2, Pronger is on Sonny like white on rice, and the Blues grinders seem to know his number as well. Didn't matter in the end, however. Nabokov notched a 28-save shutout, and Scott Thornton scored the only goal of the game. Sharks win 1-0 and tie the series 1-1 heading home. Game 3, the Shark Tank is excited, feeling lightning may strike twice. But this night is not their night. Sonny just can't get anything going in this game or in this series so far. And thanks to huge games from Turgeon and Young, the Sharks lose 6-3. Sonny is being heavily criticized. He hasn't registered a single point, and it just has 2 shots on goal in 3 games. The Sharks now trail the series 2-1. Game 4, Sonny still can't get much going, but has a bit more of a spirited effort this time. And the Sharks win a nail-biter 3-2, thanks to backup goalie Mika Kiprasov, stopping 39 shots. Nolan having a great night. We're now deadlocked at 2 games apiece. Game 5, we head back to St. Louis. Momentum on the line here tonight. And after the Blues strike first, 1:47 later, Rafty sends it up to Selanne, who sets it up beautifully for Stefan Matteau, and the game is tied 1-1. Then, about 12 minutes into the second period, Matteau then passes it to Selanne, who sets up Marleau. And the Sharks lead 2-1. Selanne has 2 assists. Time is winding down in the third. Kiprasov is outstanding, but he lets in a goal with 2:48 left in regulation. For the first time in the series, we're going to overtime. But around the halfway point, Bryce Salvador ends the game. Blues win. They now lead the series 3-2. The Sharks on the brink of elimination. Well, Selanne finally breaks free, but isn't too late. Game 6, San Jose, do or die. Sharks fans, however, are still excited. Selanne is back to where he was before the 5th game, however, and not able to get anything going. It was scoreless after 1. Then the Blues got 2 goals late in the second, 52 seconds apart. Shark season is on life support as we enter the 3rd period. A Brad Stewart goal with 7:29 to play sent the tank into a frenzy. They pressed and pressed. Turek was steadfast in net, however. Sharks lose 2-1. They're eliminated in 6 games. Selanne just had 2 assists the whole series in all 6 games, both of them coming in Game 5, of course. His best game of the series, and overall was a +2. The thing is, Selanne didn't necessarily shit the bed here. It wasn't necessarily awful. The Blues just seemed to know how to play against him. And it hurt tremendously for the Sharks, of course. His playoff woes, however, continue throughout his career. The Blues would make it all the way to the Western Conference Final for the first time since 1986. But were eliminated in 5 games by eventual Stanley Cup champions, the Colorado Avalanche. Well, now back to Selanne's arrival in San Jose. In the 12 games he played for the Sharks in the regular season, he scored 7 goals, 6 assists for 13 points. Not bad at all. And he was working with a lot of Sharks' top dogs. Marco Sturm and veteran Stefan Matteau each set him up 3 times. He also set up Mike Ricci for 3 goals. That was half of his assists. He and Patrick Marleau collaborated for 4 of 6 Selanne assists. But this will kind of beg the question going into next season. Where will Selanne be put line-wise? Our hero was met with big fanfare arriving in San Jose, and despite getting off to a rough start, he found his groove eventually in a huge hat trick against his former team. He looks like he's going to fit into the Sharks just fine. He finished a +1 in that portion of the season, and while despite more postseason woes, the Sharks team seems to be at least headed somewhere good. The same can't really be said for that this time for the Ducks. Selanne, for the first time since the lockout-shortened season, failed to reach the top 10 in any major category. And also his streak of 5 straight years being a finalist for the Lady Byng Trophy came to an end. But it was his 7th straight year and 8th time in his career that he got votes. And this year came in 11th with 25 votes. Wow. In total, combined with the Ducks and Sharks in this 2001 season, he scored 33 goals, 39 assists for 72 points in 73 games. Still very good numbers. But it's actually the first time in his 9 NHL seasons that he failed to average a point a game. Still just 1 point off. That is definitely nothing to sneeze at. I do have to mention it, though. He was a -7. It's the first time he finished in the minus since his sophomore season in 93-94. His streak of all-star games came to an end. Of course, that was 7 straight. And he was a finalist for the Lady Byng Trophy 5 years in a row. And like I said, that came to an end. And no top 10 categories this year. Be that as it may, he's still one of the best in the league, and it shows with many of his performances. Because I should mention, he had 2 hat tricks this year. And that indeed does it for part 5 of our look at the career of Teemu Selanne. Stay tuned for part 6 as we get ready to look at his first full season as a member of the San Jose Sharks, which will be the 10th of his NHL career, and we look how that journey continues thereafter. In the meantime, please like and share the video, subscribe to the channel. Until next time, I'll see ya!